Let's take a look at how we'll solve a physics problem, starting from the very beginning, looking at the problem and working through all the 4 steps that your book describes to get the answer in the end. So we'll start with the following problem. So Jim is driving his car at 32 meters per second along a highway, where the speed limit is 25 meters per second. A highway patrol car observes him pass and quickly reaches a speed of 36 meters per second. At that point, Jim is 300 meters ahead of the patrol car. How far does the patrol car travel before catching Jim? So the first thing we do, right, is we sketch and translate. So why don't you pause the video now and on your own try and sketch out this problem and try and do everything you think you should do in this step. In order to draw this picture, we need to think about the situation and what would be a useful snapshot of this situation to draw. Right? So initially the police car stopped and Jim goes flying by. Right? We don't have any information about the time that between when Jim first flew by and when the patrol car started moving. Right? We just know at some time later we have a patrol car that's moving forward with some initial velocity. We know that Jim's velocity is constant because it doesn't mention that he's sped up or slowed down. Right, so that's Jim's velocity. And we know that there's some distance between Jim and the patrol car at the time when the patrol cars hit its constant speed. So we've already drawn most of the figure. We've drawn the patrol car. We've drawn Jim's car. So the next thing to do is to choose our axis. Since they're both moving to the right, it's going to be easiest to draw positive x in the moving to the right. And notice, well, first of all, that I forgot to put tires, so we'll put tires on these cars. And I didn't have to choose this as the positive x direction. Right? I could have easily chosen the left as positive x, and if I worked through everything, I would still get the right answer. Similarly, I can put x equals 0 anywhere I want. Right? If I wanted to, I could say x equals 0 is right there where Jim is. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I think it's going to be easier if I say that x equals 0 where the patrol car is starting. And so we'll say x equals x0 at the spot where Jim is. So now I'm almost done. Now I just need to write down what all these variables that I've written are. Now the reason that I write it out in terms of variables is because anytime you solve a problem, it's going to be much easier to just use variables to work through the problem and then at the very end plug the numbers in. Part of the reason for that is you introduce rounding errors if you're putting in the numbers too early. Another part of it is it basically becomes impossible to grade, and so it makes it very difficult for you to get any partial credit if there's just a bunch of numbers all over the place and I have no idea where they came from. The last reason is just because once you've solved this problem, there's going to be a lot of other problems that are going to be very similar to it. And so you can be able to take the solution from one problem and essentially apply that to another problem, even if the numbers are slightly different. So it's good practice to always work on using variables in your solutions instead of just carrying numbers through. So in this case, again, we're given that Jim's velocity is 32 meters per second. Right? We're given that the highway patrol car has an initial velocity of 36 meters per second. And we know that x0, right, Jim's position once the police car is going at this speed, so Jim's 300 meters ahead of the patrol car. what we're trying to find is the final position. Where is it that Jim and the patrol car meet? Notice we've been given some information that we don't really need. Like the speed limit doesn't come into play at all in this problem, and you'll find that happens a lot. You'll be given extra information, and part of your job is to sift through all of the information you've been given and just choose what's important. So at this point, it may be good to pause here and go back and make sure you understand everything we've done so far. So this is just the first step in solving the problem. Step 2 is now going to be to simplify and diagram. In other words, do we have any graphs that we can draw to represent this in representing all of these objects in their simplest form? So if you've already read your book, which hopefully you have before going through this, why don't you pause this and try and do this next step on your own. When you're ready, unpause the video. So in this case, there's two different types of diagrams that we can draw, and we'll draw both of them. So first, if we look at the patrol car, we can look at its position at a few different times and draw the velocity arrow for the patrol car. And we know that delta V is 0, right? There's no change in velocity during this problem. For Jim, we can do the same thing. But notice for Jim, since he was moving slower, our velocity arrows are going to be shorter, and we'll have more of them, right? But similarly, Jim's velocity is 0. Next, we can also do a graph of position versus time. So we'll put our time in seconds on the x-axis, and we'll put our position x on the y-axis. Now we know that Jim is initially at some position x0, and he's going to be moving along so that his position is increasing at a constant rate in time. Right, so this is Jim. We know that the policeman is going to be starting at the origin, moving faster than Jim, so that at some point, xf, they'll meet. So this is the second step of the problem. So we're almost ready to move on to the third step, which is to represent mathematically. Which basically means to take the problem and put it into a set of equations. So again, you can pause the video now, try and write these equations down on your own. When you think you've got them, you can start the video up again and continue. Oops. So to write this as a system of equations is essentially what this problem is all about. As I mentioned in class, you can easily skip the first two steps if you wanted to. The problem is if you don't do things correctly, I have no way to be able to give you partial credit. So the first two steps you can still get a lot of credit for the problem on, even if you haven't set everything up properly. But let's look at how we would represent this system mathematically. And a big part of this is knowing which equations to use. Now in general, whenever we're writing down equations of motion, the ones that we want to keep in mind are x as a function of time, as the initial position, plus the initial velocity times the time, plus 1/2 the acceleration times the time squared. Right, and so this is only when acceleration is a constant. but that's the most difficult situation that we'll be doing in this class. The other equations that go along with that are velocity as a function of time is the initial velocity plus the acceleration times the time. And then you also might find situations where we have a final velocity squared minus an initial velocity squared is 2 times the acceleration times the change in position. So pretty much every problem that you work that's an equation of motion problem is going to involve these equations. So in terms of this problem, right, we're trying to find the location where both of the cars are going to meet, right? So essentially we want to know the X position of the police car, right? For the patrol car, X0 is just 0, right, because we started at the origin. And the initial velocity is Vp times t, and there's no acceleration, right? The patrol car wasn't accelerating. So for Jim, we derive a similar equation. We say x of Jim. Now, Jim initially begins at the position x0. He's moving with his initial velocity multiplied by the time, but again, Jim is also not accelerating. So this is almost it for the third step. The only other thing that we need is we know that in the end, the position of the patrol car is going to be equal to Jim's position. And so we'll call that variable x. And x is what we're going to solve for. So make sure you understand where all of this came from, because this is basically steps 1 through 3 is going to be 80 to 90% of the credit that you get on any problem in this class. Essentially, setting up the problem, making sure you can draw the picture, diagram it, and write the equations out. And then it's only the last 10 to 20% will be for actually carrying out the calculations to find the variable. But before we move on to the next step, there's one other thing that we want to keep track of, and that is what variables do we know and what don't we know, right? So we know that x of p and x of j are just the same thing as x, right? So x is our first unknown. We're given the velocity of the patrol car, we're given the velocity of Jim, but we also don't know t. It's okay because we have two different equations, and when you have two equations and two unknowns, you can still solve for a solution. But that means the first thing we want to do, since we're solving for x, is we need to find an equation for t. And that really brings us to the fourth step, to solve and evaluate. So I'll pause the video here, and again, see if you can, given the stage that we're at right now, see if you can solve this and get the solution. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video. All right, let's see how you did. So again, we notice that we don't know the time, so we're going to have to solve for that first. So we might as well solve that in the first equation since it's the easiest, right? So we have the position of the patrol car is, we have x, which is the position of the patrol car, is equal to the velocity of the patrol car times the time, right? So that means that the time is equal to x over the velocity of the patrol car. But that's also, we can also use our other equation, and we see that if we look at Jim's equation, we can subtract x0, so we get x of Jim minus x of 0 is vjt. And now we can do the same thing where we divide by v gym. So now t is going to be xj minus x0 over vj. And we'll just copy it over now. So we have x minus x0 over vj. And again, this is because xj is the same as x, right? And so now the nice thing is we have one equation and we only have one unknown. So we can solve this, right? And so the way we do this, just kind of simple algebra, is we multiply the left side by VP times VJ, so we get VJ times X, and then we multiply by the right side by the same thing, right? And so then we get VP times X minus X0. All right, now we're trying to solve for X. And so we'll move the x0 over to the left and the vjx term to the right. So vpx minus vjx. And so now we can factor that in. So x0 is going to be x multiplied by vp minus vj. X equals x0 divided by vp minus vj. And that's it. Right, now we can go back. We've been given x0, we've been given vp and vj in the problem, so we can plug those back in. If you ever get to this point on a homework on an exam or a quiz, you'll get full credit. If you just put the numbers in there wrong and you multiply or subtract incorrectly, you'll still get full credit. I won't take any points off for incorrectly putting numbers in, as long as you've got the correct solution in variable form, which is another reason why it's useful for working the whole thing out in terms of variables. So that's basically kind of start to finish how you would solve a fairly simple, we call these kinematics problems, these problems that have to do with motion.